Trace Trylko, Sons of UCF here at the UCF softball complex, just a couple of weeks removed from the night's extra inning loss to Auburn. You know, that one that went into the wee hours of the morning. Was the 2024 season a success? What does 2025 look like? I asked these questions and more of head coach Cindy Ball-Malone, who says that the future for the Knights looks bright. All right, Coach. First question, how do you decompress after a season ends, especially in a loss?
Yeah. Well, there's only one team that gets to finish with a win, so that's what's so tough about any sport. This year was a little unique and interesting because not only because of our 11 seniors and the game that we played to finish our season, and it going into, I think, almost 3 a.m. But on Monday, I was getting my kids ready for school, and I was taking my youngest son. I'd already dropped my older two off, and I was dropping my youngest son off, and he said, "Mommy, no more games." And then I just started to tear up, and I could hear it in my voice. I'm like, no more games, Kason. And it just made me realize that, when as a coach, as a head coach, you feel like you have the weight of the world sometimes, just on your shoulders. I wanted us to accomplish things this year, not just for our program, not just for, my own success, but for those 11 seniors, because I feel like they gave so much to our program. And so then it kind of reminded me, everyone loved being a part of this, my kids, my family. But then we had a senior banquet, and the amount of people that came to that banquet that's been extra from the years before just showed how much passion our Knights community has for our women and our softball program. And so thinking about that, it's not always about the wins and losses. I'm always going to strive to win, especially our last game. But to decompress on that, it allowed me to remember all the fun things that we did. And then when we have our meetings with our athletes, the first question I asked is, what was your favorite moment this year? And the seniors had, they said, gosh, there were so many favorite moments, and they talked about them, but some of their favorite moments this year had nothing to do with the game and everything to do with the people within the program. And ironically, someone threw a no-hitter this year, and that wasn't even her favorite moment. And so it's just really cool to hear what inspires them, what motivates them, what touches their heart when we do this. And so it just reminds me of, I'm not getting softer. I want to win, but it's more than that. And now I think we get to continue our season this year, even though it's done, because we've got 3 people going into the Pro League. We get to follow them in their training and prepping, and so it's fun to be able to. They're still letting me wear that head coach hat with them, right? So, I don't think you really do decompress, but I think it's really just looking back and seeing how much success we had, not only this year, but some of them said we got to host regionals. We got to go to super regionals. And one of their favorite memories that when in talking about hosting, it was actually about 3 of the seniors said when the alumni ran out to us after we won the regional in 2022. And so one of my goals coming here was to build and continue to build on the tradition here, but drive it forward into a winning tradition where we are in the conversation in June. And to know that was, something that has occurred and it touched their hearts as well is telling me that we're doing that. It just takes time. And for it to be stable and strong, it can't happen in 1 year or 2 years. It takes time and enjoying the ride.
To your point, if winning it all is the only barometer of success, there are going to be an awful lot of disappointed teams. Yes. How do you look back on the season? Do you view it as a success? I mean, there's certainly challenges. And I went back and listened to your preseason interview, and, the question was asked about preseason projection of 5th, and you wanted to exceed that. And how do you look back on that season? Do you consider success? or successes along the way, as you just sort of alluded to?
Well, I mean, as competitive as I am, and our team is, and our program is, I would say it's equally matched by the teams in our conference. And when we talk about it, like, people could say, "Whoa, tough first year in the conference." Yeah, but if you look, it's literally one pitch, we're in a different boat. One hit, we're in a different boat. And then 3 of those teams made it to the World Series. The 4th team took it to the if game with a team that's in a semifinal right now and just beat Oklahoma. So you had 4 teams that were like a pitch away from being in the World Series. And all of those programs have had coaches that have been there for some time, and have all been to the World Series already. So where we finished, I mean, we worked hard to finish where we finished. And there were other teams knocking on the door in like a Texas Tech and a BYU. And I'm not saying that I'm satisfied, but I'm really proud of what we did. I'm proud of, now looking back, like, we had athletes that were cleared, but they were playing not at 100%. We had someone that broke her hand in the first game, and she's back in 2.5 weeks because she can do it. Doesn't mean that she's 100%. We had a catcher that, has same thing. First game, her thumb is, torn ligament, and every single athlete still played this year. Now, that was nothing against like basically everything's cleared. They're wanting to do it. We're never going to play people when they're not able to. But I bring that stuff up because we fought and we weren't at 100%. In 2022, the worst injury we had was a rolled ankle, right? It was kind of like, and we didn't have them in a bubble room or anything, but it was a rolled ankle. That was it. That was our adversity when it came to a player being out. This year, in our very first game, we had 3 everyday starters that had to come out of the game in our very first game. And so I think people don't look at those things. Like Kennedy Cersei, she battled injury all year long, and then comes up and squares a ball up in her one at bat against Maddie Penta, and the left fielder has to make this diving catch. That catch isn't made. We're still playing the next day, right? And so I just think, I forgot your question, but I think looking back at all of that, I didn't forget your question. I'm proud of what we did. Like, to overcome that adversity, to stay in every single game, to be so darn competitive except for one game, really. There's one game this year where I'm like, yeah, we didn't even show up. All the rest, we were in it. And it may have been just one pitch that turned something here and there. There's a lot to be said about that. And so I am proud of our seniors for leading us in that way, and really going into this unknown of like, what is this season going to feel like? The travel. I mean, we didn't get home before midnight on any of our trips, and that's nothing against anything except for the places we go to. They're tough. You have to have sometimes non-direct flights, and in order to get your game in on Sunday, that's just what needs to happen. And there was never a complaint about it. So I am proud of our finish, and I do believe it's going to push us for next year, because of all the stuff that we went through, and we were still always a competitive team. Like, no one ever underestimated us. Everyone threw their ace to us, and if they already had thrown their ace to us, we're getting their number 2. There's a lot of pitchers on teams that we never saw because they weren't going to chance it with us. And I think that's the respect that our program has received and earned.
For years watching UCF in the American and then seeing that change to the Big 12, I'm struck by something you mentioned, a pitch here, a pitch there. Game of margins. Yes. Every single game. It's just player 2, and it changes the trajectory of the game.
Absolutely. I mean, that Florida State game, we make a play, we get one pitch, and maybe we win the game 1-0 because those 5 runs were scored after we made some like little uh-ohs in that Florida State game. And then they didn't score again that game in any other inning. So it was definitely eye-opening to all of us to see that we couldn't make the same mistakes that we were able to make in the American. And that's what the best of the best capitalize on those mistakes. And the other thing too is, I think sometimes our women thought, oh, we have to go and get this hit. We have to go and get this. No, we can capitalize on other mistakes as well. It doesn't always have to be us getting in the hit. It could be we draw a walk, we move them over, pass ball, we get to third, and then ground ball to the right side and we're scoring a run. And so it's just nice to see and hear the conversations that are occurring of how much they learned. And it's not so much, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? It was, oh, this could have happened and that could have happened. And so they're learning. And as we have 14 returning athletes on the team, and we're bringing in 6 freshmen, and we'll look into the portal. I love the number 22. I like for a team. I think it's a really solid number. So I think that's what we're aiming for, around 22 to 23 athletes. And 14 of those athletes have experienced a really, really tremendous year, have experienced adversity, and they know what's needed. Now it's what are they going to do with that knowledge?
The loss to Auburn, you're in it, you're watching it on the field, you're a part of the experience, but there's a whole group of people staying up late at night, engaged on social media, and a lot of the comments, how does Sarah Willis throw that many pitches? I mean, explain that to a still an audience still learning the game of softball at this level. How does someone perform like that to those hours of the morning?
Yeah. I get a little emotional because I'm so proud of her, because if you looked at her in her freshman year, no one would have ever imagined that Sarah Willis would be in the circle until 3 a.m. And I remember at one point I went and talked to the umpire. I think they were doing like a review, and I went and talked to the umpire, and I said, yeah, I was getting ready to complain about my contacts hurting my eyes this late, and then I realized I had glasses on. So, it was that bad. And then the umpire's like, you ain't lying. But to think that she was so strong. That was probably one of her best outings against such a solid team. And it doesn't go without notice of how amazing both pitchers were. They put their teams on their back, and they just kept going and going and getting out of jams, and just like, we're going to keep wearing it. And she did not complain one time. She did not look tired. She did not, it was just amazing. Now, 200 pitches, Sarah's done that before. She's done that in travel ball. She's done that with the Florida Gulf Coast League. She's been able to do that. But we've never trained like, okay, we're going to throw 200 pitches today. If you watch Sarah Willis in the weight room, if you watch her out here running, if you watch her taking fly balls in the outfield, then hitting, then throwing a bullpen, doing our tough pitching circuits, you would know, oh, that's why she can do that. And she knew, like, hey, this is going to be tough. Teams are going to target us because we are that feisty team that would get some wins and really take some big giants off. And so she knew she had to take all of that on her. And her training and preparation is what prepared her for that. And quite honestly, I think she could have kept going. I really do. We score a run in that inning. I think she could have kept going, and she would have gotten the ball the whole time on Sunday as well. And that's why people, asked in that Friday game against Auburn when she had given up all those walks. And, everyone's looking like, should we make a change? And I was like, nope, she's going to figure it out. And she did, right? Her team got her back, scored some runs for her, and then it was like, ooh, she just kicked it into another gear. But yeah, it all goes back to her preparation in the summer, the fall. She put herself in positions playing it in like the Alliance and different games where she's challenged, working to get better. And now look at her, she's gone and playing in AUX. So, it was all done before that, and definitely on the field, in the bullpen, but off the field as well.
The accomplishments of the senior class are well known. How do you think the connection that they made to the UCF community, to the community at large, has helped grow the game of softball and the engagement? You've seen that over your tenure here at UCF.
Yeah, it is a directly related to their involvement in the community. It's funny, maybe a little ironic. I've been getting some text messages of, how are we going to get the girls back out here? Because I think they thought, well, all these 11 seniors are gone, so we're not going to have that same engagement. And so, the little leagues around our school in our area, our girls went out there and they volunteered their time and they helped them with certain skills or practices. They took the time to do autographs and pictures and all of those things. And so to get those requests already, it was, they said, we gave you 2 weeks. What's going to happen here? To get those requests already, I think is fully is a compliment and fully appreciates what those women have done and has set the standard. And I know that our program already, the 14 returners are like, what are we going to be able to do? They're setting up different things to go out there for the summer already, and making those connections. And with NIL and all those opportunities as well, they make sure to get out in the community. They're allowed to do lessons and things like that now. And I think it's so great how much they want to give back to our community and the game. So it definitely is a direct reflection of those women. Senior day, we represent our seniors after the game, and after that Oklahoma game, it was a pretty amazing game, going back and forth, and I can't say that it was a short game, going back and forth. It was a long game in the heat, and then we almost had a full crowd waiting after to watch our seniors get represented, and we had 11 of them, and we didn't shorten up anything. We went through the entire presentation in recognizing them, talking about them. Each person probably, I think it was an average of like 8 to 10 people walking down left field, down the aisle of softball players with them. And so many people stayed back to watch and represent them and cheer them on. And after they would get some of their accolades recognized, the amount of like cheering and yelling and just like celebration of each woman on our team was, it just spoke volumes of what they've done in the community and how the community views them. So that's another tradition of not only winning and being in postseason, but being so tied to our community.
When you talk about 11 seniors, you're no doubt going to hear leading up to next season the word rebuild.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a rebuild? I mean, you mentioned who you have returning. Is that a fair term or not the way you might look at it?
Well, I guess I'll just remind you that people thought the same thing after 2022. Well, you graduated all your pitchers, and then, after they saw Sarah Willis throw, I don't think that they were saying that anymore. So the really amazing thing, and that's what I was talking about, is building something that's going to be sustainable year after year, is going to continue to build champions within the program. And we always talk about leaving it better than you found it. The footprint that these ladies, these women left in their program you're going to see it still. And they're going to play with the knowledge that they've learned from this past year and a little bit more. And that's always the goal. So, if that's the case, then we rebuild every year, right? So to speak. And that's where it's sometimes there's a little bit of luck in the game. Like I said, in 22, a rolled ankle was the worst adversity from an injury standpoint. In the last couple of years, we've just had some bad luck with some of those injuries. And it's been little like tweak things here or there that it affects us. It kind of, someone's getting getting hot, and that might slow them down, and then we got to build it back up again. But I'm not afraid of that. I don't think our women are. They're already getting their volunteer work in right now. I can't tell you how much we are getting a new strength coach. And I can't tell you how many text messages I've received from our team of, Coach Bear, when do we get to start lifting again? I'm like, hold on, take 2 weeks off at least. And then, we'll get it sorted. And with the rules, it's very unique because I can't really be involved. And so, but they're like hounding me for like, when is it going to get going? And so they got going this week. And to see as many people as we saw in this building in the summer, just 3 weeks from our season. And I know that people are coming back, even kids from California are coming back to come and be with their team and train because they're on a mission and they're ready to go.
Will one of your biggest challenges be fostering an environment where new leaders develop? I mean, you've had such prominent leaders, Shannon Doherty and Jada Cody. I mean, now you need a new class of those leaders.
What's really cool is those leaders did such a good job, especially in this year. So I've never had to worry about what they're wearing, if they're wearing the same thing. They've always, and people might think, well, that's silly. Why would you focus on that? But I mean, it's real to like look like a unified team and wear the team uniform and make sure that, whoever's picking that out, I have not had to worry about that since I've been here, and they've taken care of that. So I say that because it allows me to focus on other things. And so as we've been going throughout this year, we've been having like little like growth and development meetings with the rising leaders, if you will. But everyone in our program, the way our leadership program works, is everyone on our team is in a leadership group, and they move up in the leadership group. So we have the captains, that is like the direct line of communication from the coaches to the players. Then we'll have like the leadership team, which might be some of the older group that's maybe not captain, but they still have a lot of say and they lead in different ways. So it could be like somebody that's a leader of the infield, but maybe not a captain. Somebody is a leader in the weight room, but maybe not a captain. Somebody is a leader of the bullpen. And so we have like different segments of where they're leaders. Like our community service, Angelina DeVoe was the leader in that for the last 2 years. And so she would be able to, the girls would go up to her and say, hey, we want to do some community service. All right, here are your options. And so she would be that direct line of communication with the services we have here on campus. So we have that group. Then we have the bridge group, which is, they're kind of like the sophomores, juniors, that they're not maybe the leaders of things, but they're so important because they help navigate, especially between the older and the younger groups, right? And so it's been really unique with COVID is we have a 23-year-old and then we have a 17-year-old. That's a lot of development, a lot of different things, a lot of maturity that occurs in those times. And so that bridge group helps bring paths that help navigate through it could be through something that could be chaos. And they're like, wait, we've done this before. Let's take this route. Or they may be less intimidating to talk to, and then they can bring that information to the leaders. And then the freshmen or newcomers, they are the competitors. And so they're supposed to just be these playground kids that compete and remind us why it's so awesome to be a Knight. Remind us, when they put the jersey on for the first time and you see that excitement, you're like, oh yeah. Because those that were doing it for 5 years are like, yep, we're going to wear this jersey. Oh, these socks are the ones we don't like. They know all the ins and outs. Whereas a Taylor Kittleman putting on the jersey was like, I can't wait to wear the big hat in the dugout, and so all bases are covered, and then they get to move up within it. So it's never like, oh, you're a fresh leader and you've never had the training. It's worked for us. We have proactive coaching and our culture coach, Rob Miller, that comes in and works with them as well. So it's not just my voice or the coaches' voices that kind of lead them through what all of that's about, what building a team culture is about, and cultivating that, and becoming a great leader and understanding that you're only a great leader if people follow you. Like the little example or the little definition of being a leader is people are following, right? And so that's what's really important.
With Oklahoma and Texas moving on, new schools coming in, how do you think this league changes?
I just think geography, really. You're bringing in a team like Arizona, who's been to the World Series numerous years, who's won national championships, who's just been that traditional team for a long time. Utah was at the World Series as well. ASU's won 2 national championships. So are they Oklahoma and Texas right now in today's game? No, but they have been in the past. And so I think you're bringing more tradition, and really the biggest change is going to be the geography. It's going to be a little bit further away. We're headed closer to the west, which for some of our athletes, we have half of our team is probably from the West Coast. We do have a lot of Midwest athletes coming in now with the change going into the Big 12. So I really think that's the biggest change. It's just the geography.
You're already working on next season. Give folks, your fans, some hope about the change, losing 11 seniors and what it means, that the future remains bright for UCF softball.
Yeah. So I think what the fans are going to be able to see a little bit more next year is us getting back to who we were, and I do feel that we tried to, wear the hat that we thought we were supposed to wear. You're gonna see us be the grinders, gritty team that we have been in the past. And so I think it's gonna bring back, like, I know we were exciting to watch this year, but there have been some years and even some games where people are still talking about it. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. You're going to see that again. We're getting back to that. I definitely have done some self-reflecting, and I kind of removed myself from some of the everyday training and development, and I think it just kind of got away from who we used to be. And what I've learned is I need to be in there every day, not just overseeing and watching, but I need to be in there, because that's one of my greatest gifts, I guess, as a coach and as a motivator, to be in the everyday and not just in the bullpen. So we hired Shannon Sale. She's going to be our third assistant, and she's going to be in the bullpen every day. I don't know if I had a choice. Our players were like, You need to get Shannon Sale. You need to get Shannon Sale. Is she coming back? How are we getting her? Recruits love her. But I didn't want any other choice. She is such a great mind in the game, a competitor. She started this week, and I'm excited for what she's going to bring to the bullpen and what the pitchers need, so I can be the best head coach for this program. Still involved with the pitching staff, but not have to be there every bullpen every day. Working on hiring a first assistant as we speak, and so you're going to see some of those things as well, that it's going to get us back to, and what I'm really looking for is someone out of my network that can bring something different to this program that we've never had. So I'm really excited about that. I've had some great conversations, and looking forward to that kind of moving forward as well.
Preseason, you mentioned the motto STW. Do we get to know what that means now?
Yeah, it was shock the world, and I do think there were times where we thought shock the world meant going to the World Series, and I just reminded them, especially this past, like after our games and we got home, we got back, and we were actually sitting in this room that we're in today, and I said, guys, I know we thought that shock the world was getting to the World Series and finishing really high in the Big 12, but I think what shocked the world was how we kept hanging in there, and through everything. Your shortstop breaks her hand, and then all of a sudden she's back, and so quickly, and hitting a home run against Auburn, and just different things like that, like just shocking the world in that way. But a lot of people were counting us out of the tournament, and we shocked the world again because we hung in there and we won the games that we needed to win and we're supposed to win. We played competitive, and I think what anyone knows out there is if you're going to see a team against UCF, you're going to see a competitive game. And so that's where we didn't always get the prize at the end. And I think I've learned too, like we've always talked about process oriented. And now they've listened so well. All right, guys, we can't get stuck in the process. We got to get the prize too. And so having that healthy competition, or that healthy combination of process and getting the prize, reevaluating what's our next process. And so that's the next things moving forward.
How proud are you to lead this program?
So proud. It's I often talk about my life and things through my children, and I would say I'm a pretty modest person when it comes to talking about myself. People will talk about competitive and all those things and what I've accomplished as an athlete even, or things like that. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm trying to do this. Like I haven't won a national championship, and that's how I view myself. But my son will go and introduce me and be like, this is my mom. She's the softball coach at UCF. Yeah, you got to go watch her. She's on YouTube. And when I see his face light up talking about it, because there's times, I'll say it, I'll question myself of, am I giving enough to this program? Am I giving enough to my family? Am I giving enough to myself? And then, I think you've seen it. Like the other day, we had to call timeout and stand up for the national anthem because my son found it on YouTube. We had to stand up for it, and I was like, I wonder if they're going to do Knights while we're sitting there, and all of a sudden you see it, Knights! And it was just so awesome. And I thought, okay, this is some good stuff. Like, I'm not failing. It just looks different than what I expected. Because, I have to see my kids through a fence sometimes out there in left field. But yeah, so proud to be in this chair, be able to be the head coach of this program and where it's gone. And I'll say the biggest compliment is some of the people that are going after this job that we have here as an assistant coach, and like how they just want to be a part of it because it's so awesome what we've done here at UCF, but in the softball world, and the brand we've actually, made our name in the nation, in the softball community.
Dog days of summer now, but before long, October, November, fall ball will begin, and preparation well underway for the 2025 season at the UCF Softball Complex. I'm Trace Trylko for the Sons of UCF.